It was back in 2003. Seeing that list of top 50 games was where it all began. My obsession with top games lists. I asked friends and family for roughly 6 years, one list each year, what their favourite games were from a predetermined list, and tallied up the results. Part of me always thought, why not bring something like this back? Hello, I am Viddy of ViddyOGameForFun and welcome to the Top 25 Games Showcase 2021. A spiritual successor of sorts to the top games lists I did years ago, these 3 videos are a result of asking as many people as possible on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram and Discord and my friend and family circles to choose their favourite games. 5, 9, 13, 17, 21 or 25 of them. This was done from January to about early May this year 2021, so any new games, looking at you, Resident Evil 8, didn't get chosen. Or yeah, anyone's list could be different now, especially as they look at the many amazing games that were picked. Whether it was people choosing one game per franchise, preferring the Nintendo IPs, the PlayStation ones, the retro ones, the contemporary ones, platformers, RPGs, racing, there's no end to the unique qualities of these lists. Speaking of which, I get the impression a number of people submitted their lists with the impression this was probably going to be a compilation or showcase of lists. Nope, it was a top 25 from the very beginning, where by listing all the games, we look at the top favourite games of all time. These initial impressions came across in how the explanations for the fave games were done. And these explanations are so good that you should be writing game reviews for me. Before we get started on counting down the top 25, let's actually meet the participants, starting with those who did voiceovers and talking to camera.
Alrighty, this is DAR coming in with his top 5 video games of all time.
Hello, my name is Davis, and today I'm going to be telling you about my favorite video games of all time, sorted into 5 fabulous tiers.
Hi, I'm Dennis from the Davis and Dennis Show, and I'm going to give you my list of my favorite games.
Hi, I'm Exactly, and I'm here to talk about my favorite games.
Hi, this is LK, and these are my top games.
What's going on, guys? This is Mike Noid, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 25 games of all time.
Hello, my name's MoggleMick, and I am a video games content creator, primarily on Twitch. I'm a variety streamer, so I stream a wide variety of games. JRPGs tend to be my favorite, so there's quite a lot of those in my top 25 list because, well, they're just, yeah, they're the one. They're the one true video game king, in my opinion. So yeah, I hope you enjoy.
I'm so giddy over the Viddy Showcase, a case for our top 25 favorite games. If you disagree with my list, well, I'm an amateur. And 2, don't leave me off the hook. You can pirate that cringe pun. Oh, what do we have here? A DKC strategy guide. Hey, amateur, put that guide down. Oh, who's that? Oh, that's the expert, my brother. We are the Thumb Brothers, but he likes to thumb through strategy guides, and I think he's going to go bananas. And we are going bananas crazy, excited for the Viddy Showcase. Thanks again for having us, Viddy, and everyone else who's also participating. A huge thank you. Amateur, put that strategy guide down now.
Hi all, before I begin I just want to give a massive thanks to Video Games for Fun for inviting me on to share my thoughts on my top 25 games. And before I get into the list proper, I just want to point a couple of things out. One, this isn't a list of the best games ever. Instead, this is more a list of important games or gateway games. Games that I would consider a good place to start for a particular genre or series, or the best example of games like it, standing head and shoulders above everything else in that particular series or genre. And two, this is my personal opinion, okay? I've put this list together from games that I have a long and storied history with that mean a lot to me. If you think every game in this list is terrible, or you like another game in a particular genre or series more, that's absolutely fine as well. And finally, I'll be finishing some games with a further reading recommendation for other games or series you might want to try if you enjoy that game. And even though I won't mention it, it should go without saying to check the rest of the games in that same series out for yourself as well. With all that in mind, and another thanks to Viddy for having me on his channel, let's get into the list.
Alright, so video games top tier list. Here we go.
Thank you. Not everyone did introductions though, and that's okay. It was optional. Others who did voiceovers are A Friend Remembers, Eagle Eye, and The Retro Room. I'll also read out the names of those who did text explanations. I hope these people will be satisfied with my reading the explanations aloud, as people don't like to read when watching videos, apparently. Anyway, these people are Alianga, Andres, Cat Food, Celestial, Danae, Heaps of Games, Holly Plays, Gemry, Joker, Matilda, Nintendo Reviewer, Slapnut the DJ, Trash Bandicoot, and Zach. And the following people just submitted a list of 5 game titles, with no explanations, and these lists are also great. These were done by Angela, Big Boss, Geordie Slasher Gaming, Genimations, Kathy, Melbourne City Gamer, Mike, Neil, Nintendo Down Under, Riley, Shoo Shoo, and Simon. Okay, now let's really begin with the game at number 25. It's a game, I believe, surely belongs in every top games list. It's a bit of an awkward start for me though, as I didn't really have time to spend on this game. It makes sense, given the open nature of the game, where everyone's experience with this popular game is different. It's a game I overlooked for some time. Only when I did play it for a bit did I truly realise why such a game deserves to be at least number 25.
Minecraft might be one of the most important games of all time.
As corny as this might sound to some people, I think Minecraft is a really fun game.
Described by Zach as so simple but so fun, he put it in tier 2 on his list by the way, Minecraft, published and developed by Mojang Studios, was first released on the PC and handheld devices in 2011. Over the years it has been ported to several other platforms. In contrast to other games in the showcase, Minecraft doesn't really have any goals or story other than what you, the player, do in several game modes and difficulties across seemingly infinite blocky 3D worlds. Exploring, finding, crafting, engaging in combat, and so on.
Now, I've been playing Minecraft on and off since 2014, and my experience with it is one of calm organisational satisfaction, working up from nothing to having a fully sustained farm and small zoo, and revisits tend to consist of simply collecting resources, a bit of mine expansion, and a cheeky visit to the nether if I'm feeling brave.
Joker is one of those who placed this game in tier 2, saying, "You may be wondering, hold on a second? Joker likes Minecraft? Well, overall yes, but kinda no as well. Minecraft can be a game for all ages really. While mostly targeting kids, the game can be real fun for adults."
It's a testament that Minecraft is still as popular as it is. Minecraft is kind of like Lego to me. It's made for kids, but adults can enjoy it.
Joker continues, Minecraft has zero to none story. Why? Because it's an open world sandbox game that allows you to build to your heart's content. Although that part of the game is really good, it's not what made me get into the game. What made me get into the game are the servers that exist. Minecraft has a multiplayer mode that allows you to go into servers. Servers are usually full with mini-games, a lot of people at a huge competition.
Now, I'm not a master builder or a redstone engineer of any kind. I just like to go out, explore, and build myself a nice little settlement.
Underlying these moments is, as Joker says, an overall simple soundtrack with overall simple tunes that are enjoyable to listen to. I like that part of the game because it understands that it's a calm game. Sure, you can fight dragons, gods of death, guardians, and multiple bosses. The game doesn't force you to do any of them. You can just boot up Minecraft, put it on creative mode, and just build.
Everyone that's played Minecraft has their own unforgettable experiences with it.
I haven't played much Minecraft recently, Zach says. However, I know that I will return to build towns, destroy dungeons and creepers, and explore the endless mountains, lakes, deserts, and forests.
I could go months or years without even thinking about it, but when the mood takes me, I can just slip back into it like a comfy pair of socks.
Zach concludes by saying, playing Minecraft with friends is another great aspect of the game. I remember spending a whole weekend building a large castle with friends, only for us to end up burning the entire thing to the ground for fun.
This game is best played with other people since you're able to divide tasks so you guys can work on gathering materials and crafting a place to share together.
Joker finishes by saying, Minecraft, while not my most favourite game, I enjoy the servers and the mini-games in there worth playing for a couple of hours.
This game is still receiving updates, so there's always something new to discover when exploring your worlds, and if you're creative enough, building structures out of the environment around you is always a blast.
It completely deserves to be the best-selling game of all time.
If we've got a hugely popular game like Minecraft in this showcase, what about the smaller, lesser-known titles? Well, it's hard to say if the game at number 24 fits into that category. It is an indie game to be fair, but as with any game, especially an indie, it can be shared amongst the gaming community a lot, so much to the point where it's hard to ignore. Is it truly an indie game anymore? Perhaps it's better to look at the impact it made on the player, as shown with the game at number 24.
And for tier 1, my top game, Undertale. Now, I know this may seem like an obvious answer and perhaps even a bit of a cop-out, but Undertale has to take the top spot for me personally.
We all know what Undertale is, and truth be told, there isn't much I can say that hasn't been said before.
Undertale, a game created by indie developer Toby Fox, was first released on the PC in 2015, and then released on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One in the following years. The child one plays as has fallen into a large region known as the Underground. Their escape to the surface is filled with adventure, monsters, magic, and so on, in a memorable RPG-style indie game.
Some games impress you because of their slick and their polish, and other games stick with you because of their heart. Undertale, it's an experience that, as rough around the edges it is, it will get inside your head if you give yourself over to it.
What is it about Undertale that works?
One, it's a game I've been back to multiple times with an amazing and amazingly written story that's so meta you could spend days picking apart the deeper subtext. With a good ending so fulfilling I will shamelessly and openly weep at it every single time.
The sense of humour, the love, the emotion, the multiple endings, that final boss and the way it plays with you.
The humor, the characters, the music is all fantastic. The soundtrack, soundtrack. Somehow this man, all on his own, made 101 songs for this game. Of course, we can't let Toby take all the credit. Tammy Chang has never mentioned this game's development, and she did so much for it.
Every single part of Undertale just works perfectly for my tastes. The art style, one of my all-time favourite soundtracks, the characters, writing, its perfectly executed moral choice system, a combat system that's part turn-based and part bullet hell so you never feel like you're just idly clicking to win, and how the whole package just comes together not only as an homage to old school 16-bit era JRPGs, but also as a subversion that takes all the tropes we're familiar with and turns them on their head, not only as a knowing wink, but also to question the very nature of what it means to do the right thing, even after the credits are finished rolling.
It knows it's a video game. It knows you know that it knows it's a video game, and it's gonna have fun.
Undertale will always be important for proving indie games are something that can rival major studios in terms of sales and quality, and that crowdfunding is a reliable way to get your game made. might not be a reliable way to make sure a game's quality is secure, but hey, if it wasn't for Undertale, I doubt indie games would receive the recognition they deserve.
Now, I won't go into specifics because I feel that anyone interested in even trying should go in blind for the best experience. I'll just close by saying that I have never played a game that has stuck with me like Undertale, and while there are a fair few people out there that would call this overrated, as is their right to, for me, it will always be the shining example I'll always offer in the argument for games not only as art, but also as a serious and, despite the colourful art style and quirky characters, mature storytelling medium that has fart jokes in it.
Did you fall for that? Huh? These gadgets are useless. Not like for ones one uses in the game at number 23. This is an old game that is surely influential in regards to consoles and the time spent in solo and multiplayer. But it goes without saying that the game at number 23 is a better alternative to the many licensed games out there.
I admit that I'm pretty bad at first-person shooters, but I did grow up on Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, but this one, I admit, might have not aged all that well, but it's still one of my favorites because I love its personality.
GoldenEye 007, published by Nintendo and developed by Rare, was released on the Nintendo 64 in 1997. Based on the film GoldenEye, the first James Bond entry to star Pierce Brosnan as the 007 agent, this game was revolutionary and influential for first-person shooters on consoles. In fact, if it wasn't for this game, Slapnut the DJ says, modern-day Call of Duty would not exist.
It's probably best known for its 4-player multiplayer mode. I mean, if one person knows where to get the body armor, you were kinda... yeah, that was it for you. I remember my brother would always know the body armor spots, or would always know the despawn spots. So like when you die, you know where you'll come back so you could get that body armor.
Just spent, so many hours playing this with particularly friends my age. We'd play this growing up and do the multiplayer battles and all the arguments that would ensue about who was the best player and whether certain players were too good that no one was allowed to have them, like Odd Job.
Yeah, the multiplayer mode was very fun, like with proximity mines. There was just a lot to it, especially when you could be villains like Jaws or Odd Job, and obviously different characters had different heights.
Slapnut the DJ concludes his explanation by saying, the 4-player split-screen multiplayer is still by far unbeatable. A good reason to have it in Tier 2.
The soundtrack of GoldenEye does use a lot of samples in each track of the level of the main theme, but the main theme is kind of like thrown in the middle somewhere, so the music is very original for the most part. I love Bunker. And I love the first Snowfield music. Ooh, that's a really great track.
This music would back up the single-player campaign that was based on the film, complete with mission briefings.
You will see quotes from Moneypenny, Q, and M. There was a lot of wit in those quotes. I just love scrolling through the pages before the levels, seeing some of the banter of the mission log. It kind of reminded me of Star Fox a little bit.
I'd played this game 1,000 times before I even saw the movie GoldenEye, and I was so let down that it was not the video game. I had no idea what I was watching. Such was the impression that this game had made on my psyche.
In addition, what gives the game a lot of replay value for me is the different difficulty settings. You have 3, and each one has a little bit more missions to do, or submissions. And the coolest thing is the game would track how fast you would beat each level. So if you beat a certain level at a certain difficulty, you unlock a cheat or a code. And I think that's kind of cool.
This game is so good that my brother bought a Nintendo 64 for his kids who are 8 and 5. And I can't wait to get over there and play some GoldenEye against him.
So basically, yeah, James Bond, GoldenEye really does a great reenactment of the movie. It really does its homework and its personality and music is what keeps me playing this game.
I see with GoldenEye we're looking at retro games, and the game at number 22 is no exception. One word that seems to be thrown around with this game is timeless. People keep on returning to this game because of its cool production values, because of its progression, because of its design, and because people tried to complete this game in the fastest time possible. I gotta say though, the explanations for this game make the discussion of this game a bit longer and detailed.
There's just so much to say about Super Metroid.
Super Metroid, published and developed by Nintendo, was first released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1994. The third main entry in the Metroid series, bounty hunter Samus Aran goes to the planet Zebes to retrieve a baby Metroid, last seen in Metroid 2, taken by Ridley and the Space Pirates. It is mostly similar to the first two games, but this, Alianga says, is the one that made me love the Metroid games after being more ambivalent about them previously, thanks to various quality of life improvements, improved and evolved controls, 8-way aiming, toggable equipment, wall jumps, a great map system, but also all the other things fleshing out the experience in a more subtle and refined way, like the environmental storytelling focus and improved sense of place, plus the unnecessary but cool things like power bomb healing.
I think all Metroid fans could agree, and that we're all very thankful that Super Metroid has a map. Because the first Metroid, I love that game, but I would get so confused as where to go. And it's not just a simple map in Super Metroid, but it's a pretty darn good map. It doesn't show you everything, which is what I love about this game.
Alianga continues, well designed and atmosphere are top tier here, with a memorable intro, distinct areas that are rewarding to explore, solid visuals that don't detract from the gameplay, interesting touches like the foreshadowing of Meridia, great overall pacing, creatures that seem more like they live in the world rather than being placed there to wait for and fight for player, as well as neutral and friendly ones.
The thing I love about Super Metroid is the references or vibe from Aliens. The cinematic intro, man, just totally blew me away. That music, that haunting music. And I would love it when you go to the station and then everything would light up and you just get that awesome music and then you see all the enemies.
Alianga also says, there are also some well-done sci-fi horror elements in the boss introductions, the crashed ship, the intro leading up to the player being attacked on the planet, and a good sense of vulnerability and solitude throughout most of it, with the former being contrasted by the near-god form attained in the finale in a cool way.
The bosses were really huge. In Metroid, they were really small, but Ridley and Kraid, wow, the battle with Kraid, I just love the sound effects that Kraid would make. And then the music before Kraid just has that like sci-fi, cool, futuristicness to it. And the little details of the game has so many to mention, but you see like this fallen fighter there before the battle with Kraid.
Continuing with Alianga's comment, player movement, while getting minor improvements for later games in an action game sense, is still rather flexible and satisfying and gels perfectly with the aforementioned sci-fi horror aspect. I've seen complaints about the wall jump, but I think they did it just right, considering the sequence-breaking opportunities it provides. You feel like a champ when you start mastering it and breaking the intended path through the game. With that, bomb jumping and the mock ball, you can make the game pretty much fully non-linear, and if you need more replay value, there are various well-made hacks and randomizer hacks to check out.
I think the wall jump was really cool, especially learning that from those little creatures and how that kind of ties into the ending. The fact that there are multiple endings in Super Metroid really adds to the replay value. If you complete the game at a certain time, you just get a different ending. I always thought that was kind of cool. Or if you got 100%, did you get all the energy tanks? Did you get all the missiles? The game's a great use of backtracking. I know we all hate kind of backtracking, but I think it's Super Metroid, it gets a pass. This is a great game.
Alianga finishes by saying, Super Metroid is still my fave game in the platform adventure / Metroidvania genre and an all-time classic.
As much as I like Super Metroid, it was not that deep of a game. It is one of the things that define the Metroidvania genre for sure, more so than the original Metroid. And I do love it. I've even done a playthrough of the game on stream, but Castlevania was just as much responsible for defining the Metroidvania genre. And honestly, other games have done it much better. The reason Super Metroid is on this list is because it did do something that was a first. which was giving us multiple paths to completion in that style of game in a Metroid, what is now known as a Metroidvania platformer. That is something that did help define the genre, and I will give it a lot of credit for that.
Happy 34-ish years to the Metroid series. Will any other Metroid games get in, I wonder? Well, we have to go with a different franchise for the game at number 21. It is hard to say if people would only choose this game from the franchise it belongs to, especially considering we haven't mostly got a sequel to this game in some time. Do we need one? It's selling so well still. Because of that, you'd think it'd get a higher spot than number 21.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the greatest Mario Kart game ever made.
Mario Kart 8, published and developed by Nintendo, was first released on the Wii U in 2014, followed by an enhanced version titled Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch in 2017. One of the most recent installments in the Mario Kart series, it sees you racing around many locales as Mario and many other characters, using weapons such as shells and bananas to get an advantage. Several modes are available in solo and multiplayer, even online, as it's a competition to see who can cross the finish line first.
Now, Mario Kart is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I think it's one of the ultimate party games, the sort of game that all of your friends would roughly know how to play, but since I played it so much, I was a master at it and beat practically everyone.
You have the most characters, even some from other Nintendo franchises, fantastic courses, stellar music, making it one of the most competitive couch co-op games I've ever played.
Now, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is, I believe, the ultimate incarnation of the series. Not only does it have the best tracks of the franchise, but it's got beautiful graphics. I think it's the first time Mario Kart as a series had gorgeous graphics, but it also runs at 60 frames a second, which is buttery smooth.
I will say that I put more time in Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, because Deluxe is pretty much a port with a few new characters, updated battle modes, and the ability to hold 2 items at once.
The Nintendo reviewer placing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in Tier 2 on his list notes the differences between Deluxe on the Switch and the original release on Wii U, saying, fixes everything wrong with Mario Kart 8 while keeping what was good. Proper battle mode with remastered arenas and very well made new arenas, a lot of customization in battle mode, complete with bots.
But whenever I'm in the mood to throw some blue shells and get a gold trophy, I will always choose Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. There's a reason why this game is the best selling Switch game of all time.
I just don't think that there's another video game that you can have so much fun in person with your friends with. And that's why it's in Tier 5.
Whether you're racing against a computer or against friends, I'm struggling to think of a racing game that has just perfectly embodied that sense of fun than Mario Kart 8.
What do you all think? Well, here's a few excerpts from the multiplayer commentary on my Viddy Plays channel.
Come on, come on!
Oh, he's done it again!
Oh yes, I'm coming first. No! No, yes, I just about, yeah! Boomerang, I lost it.
Come on! Come on, no!
No! Just like Mario Kart 8, the game at number 20 is a game I thought would be higher up on the list. I have spoken to quite a few people who like this game, and they, well, didn't enter the showcase because of time or that they didn't want to, and that's okay. It's nice to see this game in the top 25 anyway, because of how it popularized a somewhat initially niche genre, as well as boosted console sales and made stories in games more complex and cinematic. Here's the game at number 20.
So, Final Fantasy VII is my all-time favourite game, plain and simple. It's the second Final Fantasy game I ever played and still one of the earliest JRPGs I experienced.
Final Fantasy VII, developed by Square/Squaresoft, was first released on the PlayStation in 1997. It has since been re-released or ported to the PC, phones and other consoles, mostly published by Square Enix. This is the game of the Final Fantasy series that transitioned not only from 2D to 3D, but also from Nintendo to Sony, complete with full motion video, 3D computer graphics and 3D character models over pre-rendered backgrounds. Not to mention a top-tier soundtrack composed by Nobuo Uematsu. The main character is Cloud Stripe, a former member of Soldier, now working with Avalanche, an eco-terrorist organization trying to prevent the big corporation Shinra from stealing and processing the planet's life force. Avalanche's mostly ruthless and intense methods lead to Cloud and an ever-increasing group of party members navigating the Shinra headquarters in Mika, then outside the city to pursue the mysterious Sephiroth and save the world.
I immediately fell in love with the world and the characters, and the active time battle system gameplay is a great take on the turn-based classic, and the versatility you get with the materia and the combinations is just amazing.
But the aforementioned story summary is only just one aspect of the whole thing.
This one is heartbreaking on so many levels, and not just because of that one moment that shook the gaming community to its core back in 1997, but also because even further in, the game tackles some very weighty psychological topics such as loss of self, depression, grief, and more importantly, overcoming loss and healing.
Often JRPG characters fall into typical tropes, and at first Final Fantasy VII characters are no different really. However, as the game progresses, you see there's far more to them, and their development over the game that shows them to be unique and full-fledged characters that I can't help but love. The story itself and its message, they're also fantastic, and I think they're very pertinent today, and maybe even more so than when it was released in 1997.
So, Final Fantasy VII is similar and different to its predecessors, with in-depth characters and story, a setting and presentation unlike almost anything ever seen before, and gameplay filled to the brim with content and side content, including the aforementioned materia that makes for cool customization and battles. The game's success that led to the aforementioned re-releases, additional media and games, and the highly anticipated remake released in 2020 cannot possibly be overstated.
While 6 may be my favourite Final Fantasy, I have to say that if you only ever play one game in the franchise in your lifetime, make it 7.
But yeah, Final Fantasy VII for me is just number one. Fantastic game, and I can play it over and over and over and just never get bored, never get tired of it. I love it. It's fantastic.
Now that we've looked at the PlayStation 1, let's mostly look at the PlayStation 2 for the game at number 19. Well, it got an enhanced version, so to speak, that which is probably preferred by many. It is also due to this game that I heard of a series it belonged to for the first time. Actually, it was because of a song featured in-game. That's not much for you to go on, is it? Same for me, saying this was a game I mostly did not expect to get in.
In Tier 1, we have Persona 4 Golden.
Persona 4, which should actually be my favorite game of all time, but no, I chose another game to be my favorite game of all time.
I played Persona 4 Golden just a few months before the game came out to Steam, so I experienced the game on the PlayStation Vita. It's amazing how you can play one of the best JRPG games in the palm of your hands.
Persona 4, developed by Atlus, was first released on the PlayStation 2 in 2008 and 2009, followed by the enhanced version titled Persona 4 Golden, released on the PlayStation Vita in 2012 and 2013, and on PC in 2020. The fifth main installment in the Persona/Shin Megami Tensei Persona series, this JRPG sees you, the player, as a high school student moving from the city to the countryside for a while, only to be caught up in investigating a series of murders and having surreal experiences such as accidentally going inside a TV to the realm called the TV world, full of dungeons to explore and shadows to fight. In this regard, Persona 4 is similar to the other games in the series.
Now, I love Persona as a franchise, and as much as I love Persona 3 and Persona 5, I think Persona 4 is has the perfect blend of gameplay, of story, and characters that you just grow to adore.
And the story, I just want to talk about the story because few games, I should say no other game has brought me into the story more.
These characters are not just part of a story, but you also spend time with them outside the dungeons with a gameplay mechanic of social links that, when increased in rank, give you bonuses, skills, and abilities.
You have the most likable characters, an interesting murder story, and some of the best turn-based gameplay ever.
When the game finished, I genuinely felt like I had just lost all my friends because all my friends were on this PlayStation Vita in this Persona 4 game, which I've spent 100 hours playing and being with them.
Now the game might look a little bit rough since it was originally released on the PlayStation 2. I think the game still looks good, and being able to play the game on the go makes it much easier to pick up and do a bit of dungeon crawling.
It's just so beautiful, like the friendships you make, the story, the gameplay's okay, I suppose. It's not important in the grand scheme of things.
Whether you own a Vita or a PC, I highly recommend this game if you're ready to try out a JRPG.
It's just a game everyone should play, and now it's on PC, so everyone can.
While it's over 100 hours long, I think particularly on a portable console like the Vita, it's just a game that literally everybody should play. Also, the soundtrack is amazing, and I listen to it all the time.
Persona 4 features a fox, so maybe we can actually answer the question, what does the fox say? But I think a better question would be, that adorable puppy of yours, Viddy, did you ask him what his favourite games are? Why yes, that puppy I mentioned as far back as my Shadow of the Colossus streams on Twitch, Charlie, is part of the showcase. Well, sort of. Here he is. Puppy Power!
Charlie's favourite games.
One game that is on Charlie's list is Pizza Tycoon, because I like to eat the pizza. Charlie, you do realise this game is more about simulation and economics and managing business. Okay, I get it. You want to eat the pizza. Well, how about the pizza passivity in Subini's? Oh wait, you chose that game too. Never mind.
More toppings!
Those games that Charlie chose. The nostalgia is strong here. What is nostalgia though? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Are the games we played when we were younger truly that good, or do they not age that well? A similar question was asked about GoldenEye earlier, and a similar one can apply to the game at number 18. This is a game that is truly important in gaming history. Let's take a look.
It's me, Mario!
Described by Slapnup the DJ as the game that changed video games, Super Mario 64, published and developed by Nintendo, was first released on the Nintendo 64 in 1996. The first 3D game in the mainline Mario series, you play as Mario, who goes to Peach's castle expecting to eat a cake she has baked for him, only to find Bowser is at it yet again, kidnapping Peach as well as using the Power Stars and trapping everyone in the castle. Only through travelling the varied worlds via portals in the castle and collecting the Power Stars can Mario stop Bowser. Many people surely have fond memories of this game, including Matilda, who placed this in Tier 1. Same. This was the first game I ever played. My folks got me a Nintendo 64 for my birthday. I think it was when I turned 8 or maybe 9. They bought it used and it came with a handful of games. Super Mario 64 was one of them.
Super Mario 64 is my all-time favorite Mario game. That's just a non-argument, really. I used to spend ages messing around in this.
Super Mario 64 was bigger and more open than the previous Mario games, with many objectives that you can mostly complete out of order to obtain the Power Stars. The freedom and challenge were something new, probably more so to the youth who had seen a Nintendo 64 for the first time. Matilda says, I guess the fact I had never played an adventure or RPG kind of game before added to the experience, which was very profound. Once I started playing it, I couldn't stop. I remember the game as magical, mysterious, and funny, and at times a bit scary.
The world felt really vast and unconquerable to young me, but still somewhere on my N64 cartridge I have an All-Stars save, which to be honest I'm still pretty proud of, because old me cannot play that game very well.
Perhaps it took many years to fully complete it then. Slapping up the DJ, who plays this in Tier 2, I forgot to mention that before because I was trying to get all the stars yet again. He says, I am still yet to complete this game and would love to revisit it when possible. The open worlds are just magnificent for its time. Matilda concludes her explanation by saying, I also remember feeling really empty and sad when I finally finished it after what back then seemed like years of playing it. It just goes to show that Super Mario 64 is revolutionary, influential, nostalgic, and fun all at once. No matter its age, it surely deserves a place in the top 25. It got remade for the Nintendo DS as Super Mario 64 DS and has been ported to the virtual consoles on Wii and Wii U, and even the Switch for a limited time, so there's more than one way of playing it. You remember I mentioned earlier that there were people who chose one game per franchise? That wasn't a rule exactly, and I didn't do that with my list. It was surely just a way to represent as many favourite gaming IPs as possible. But with a series, what game do you choose as your favourite? Why, you choose a game that expanded on what came before it and is just plain fun to play. You choose a sequel, such as the one at number 17. Also, everyone who chose this game placed it in Tier 2.
Uncharted 2 is one of the best sequels ever made.
Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, published by Sony Computer Entertainment, now Sony Interactive Entertainment, and developed by Naughty Dog, was first released on the PlayStation 3 in 2009 and then re-released on the PlayStation 4 as part of Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection. And the game is about, well, I'll quote from Joker. He explains it. Uncharted 2 is the second game in the Uncharted series. Although the series ends after the fourth main game, it's still famous and a movie has been announced. So what better time to talk about Uncharted? Not the original, but the sequel. Uncharted 2's story is probably the most interesting thing in this game in my opinion. Nathan wakes up in a train on top of the mountains. The train is about to fall with him inside, injured, but without any other escape route. He decides to climb up and flee the train before it falls down. And with that, the story starts. Most of the game is spent in Nathan's memories as you piece together what happened. That's about all I can say without spoiling anything. I even mentioned it because it's in the trailer, at least at the PSN store it is.
Uncharted 1, while okay and great for the time, is definitely the worst in the series. Uncharted 2 is better in every way. To the memorable set pieces, seriously, the train segment lives in my head rent-free constantly. The new characters, the gameplay where every fight is different and presents a new way for you to face your enemies. To the most video game villain I've ever seen in a game.
The game controls perfectly, Joker says. Every time you lose, it feels like it's your fault. The enemies take some hits to beat, and hard mode makes a good challenge. Surprisingly, I don't have anything to say about Uncharted 2's music, probably because my PS4 was louder than the game, but listening to the OST on YouTube, it's really good.
And if you buy it in the Nathan Drake collection, you get a bonus 2 other games.
Well, much has to be said about Uncharted 2 as a sequel, maybe as a contrast to the other Uncharted games that you can also get in the Nathan Drake collection. The story, inspired by Marco Polo and his expeditions, is better, the settings are more dynamic and varied, and the gameplay is familiar and different in equal measure. let's finish off this look at Uncharted 2 with the final part of Joker's explanation. Most games like Uncharted fall after the first entry, but Naughty Dog did magic once again. And finally, my fear of sequels to action games is gone! The game at number 16 is how we're going to finish the first episode. Again, it is hard to choose what your favourite game is. There's so many to choose from one's collection to trips down memory lane. What do you do? Oh, I know, can I have them all as for one game? No. Well, sort of. The closest you would get to something like that is the game at number 16. Also, excuse my name tag being above the many characters in this game.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is my all-time favorite game.
Smash Bros. Ultimate is the game that keeps on giving.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, published by Nintendo and developed by Bandai Namco Studios and Sora Ltd, was released on the Nintendo Switch in 2018. Decided as the best Super Smash Bros. Game so far by the Nintendo reviewer who included it in Tier 2 on his list, this most recent, as of this recording, entry in the famed Super Smash Bros. Series sees a lot of characters from mostly Nintendo's past and present games, including Mario, Pikachu, and even Sonic and Final Fantasy VII's Cloud, fighting on many stages in various game modes, solo or multiplayer.
Every stage, soundtrack, and fighters filled with passion for Sakurai and the dev team. Honestly, if you can't find a fighter that you like, what's wrong with you? Every genre is represented, and it's a shame that PlayStation couldn't do the same with PlayStation All-Star.
This game celebrates a variety of gaming icons in a fun and intense fighting game. Your enjoyment for this game depends on whether you're good at it or you're not. Personally, I'm not that bad myself, which is why I love booting it up and just playing for a few minutes.
The interesting thing to note is what separates this game from its predecessors, including its extra DLC fighters, as said by the Nintendo reviewer. For most characters, including Banjo and Kazooie, finally! For most stages, including many old ones, perfected combat mechanics that kept what worked in Melee and abandoned what didn't work in Brawl, expands on great concepts introduced in Smash for Wii U.
Is this game perfect? No, the online is terrible, the all-star mode is gross, and coin battles aren't present in this game. However, you have an incredibly large roster of characters, a great classic mode, a bunch of spirits you can try to collect in Spirit Board and Adventure mode, plus being able to listen to over 1,000 pieces of video game music is a very nice feature.
Ultimate is a definitive edition of the Smash franchise, and I don't know how they will top it. But no matter who they pick for the final fighter, I will not be disappointed. But I will be disappointed in the Mii costumes. Come on, guys, really?
The Nintendo reviewer concludes his explanation by saying it's the ultimate party game while being a well-made fighting game too. To me, it is a more than exceptional entry in a series that has introduced me to series such as Metroid, Mother/Earthbound, and Fire Emblem. And above all is a fun and addictive Nintendo Switch title. We'll have to wait and see who the final DLC fighter is after Kazuya from Tekken.
Smash Ultimate is a game that I can easily put more hours into, and to me, being able to pick up and play a game for a few minutes of the day has become something I've been appreciating as my life has gotten busier. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate deserves my #1 spot.
So, in this episode, we've covered games 25 to 16 of the showcase. I'm still in the middle of editing episodes 2 and 3. Next week, we'll cover games 15 to 6. Please be patient. Let's also have a discussion. What do you think of the game so far? Or do you perhaps want to wait until we know the whole list? So, have a good day or night or whatever it is, and I'll see you next week.